The ship is repaired. Must be magic. Oh well. Get lost in it. And of course, the Virga. So I'm sending you this tone or this material thing, giving you the energy in a non-material way through vibration. Okay, my shoulder get to hurting. Well, if this is the first time whenever you check this out, this is Big Pontiac, otherwise known as Eight Wind, otherwise known as the Time Lord. I am the holder of the infinite ball game, created by the Hero Twins. And I am also your galactic daddy-o, and welcome to my galactic patio from Minnesota to the universe. Not drinking nothing but copper water tonight. So pop them if you got them. Still smoking on the Yukon Wolf. Smoke them if you want them. Start giving out some more energy. Giving out the energy of the transformation. The Americans call it the were baby, but it's really the transformation into the panther. So it has nothing to do with the European werewolf. This is the transformation. This is showing the spiritual man, the spiritual being transforming into the panther. And as always, giving you that omen energy, where the sacred ball game comes from. And just to warn you, I'm a little bit high, but I can still explain everything. So welcome. Welcome tonight. I guess I'll start off. Hey, Lorenzo, thank you for joining me. I appreciate it. I'll start off like this. So I was talking last night about getting sucked into Facebook, and I really don't get sucked in. There's a person that puts out a lot of beautiful information. You know, of course, she copies it from somewhere and repaste it. And she was talking about chakras, and she was talking about, in the article, that's what it talked about. It talked about the chakras being 2,000 years old, the chakras being spoke about in the Vedas. And it's really like, and so what I basically said is, I don't teach that shit. I don't teach it because, again, as I've showed you a week or two ago about the Book of the Dead, I mean, you're wasting your time learning something that really you should be learning as you prepare for death. From the simple fact is, as you prepare for death, you have to shut off openings in your body. And what the chakras is teaching you is releasing this stuff. Now, again, I've said before, I can fully activate it, be worlds everywhere. I mean, it's unlimited in the chakras. If you really get into it, it's unlimited. It ain't just right here. It's the whole room that you could fill with energy. And then what is that really called? Because that's more than what they teach. And I think it's more important to shut down. So again, you know, as you facing that ultimate end and the new beginning, you shut down the energy from both feet. You shut down the energy that really runs kind of to your butt, but it's basically like where your groin area is. You shut down the other world that's above that area, and then right around your heart, you have to shut that down. And then as you move up, you have to shut down what would be the opening in your throat. You have to shut down the opening in your ears. You have to shut down the opening in your eyes. You have to shut down the opening in your eyes and your mouth. And you want everything to be here. And to me, that's more important to study. Watching it, they talk about the Tuck rule. They got Tom Brady and reliving the game. How fitting those two guys came from the same college in Michigan. And remember, Woodson got a Super Bowl. So for Woodson being cheated out of that, because I broke that down the night it came on. And what that showed is they did cheat. I mean, there's no way they can talk out of it. They try to say, well, this happened in another game. How come we didn't hear about that other game? And you know how easy it is to fake film and stuff to bring up. And so, hey, what's up, Z? And so, yeah, so really it's a diversion. It's a mocking. It's a mocking more than anything. It's a mocking the people to show you how they cheated, and then they trying to rationalize they cheating. Well, but because what they said, and that's why I say multiple realities, because they talk about that. What happened if, and I've said this many times, again, if Brady fumbles there, Brady does not start the next year. And the made up legend of the equal to Michael Jordan would have never been created, because there's no way they would have had confidence in him. Drew Bledsoe would have started the next year. Raiders probably would have been the dominant team. Again, it's all scripted. They hated Al Davis so much, and good. That's one reason why Paul Goodall, or the current commissioner, is the commissioner. FBI is so much. Facebook, I have one, but I legit hardly ever post. I haven't posted since October. I quit posting, and I was talking cash shit. Oh, but I'm smooth. I'm smooth. You know, we looking tomorrow. We might get snow tomorrow, but we're supposed to get like a foot of snow Monday night, Tuesday. So we'll see. So we'll see. But smooth, cold as shit, man. It's just funny how when the sun goes down, woo, 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 it changes, boy. That hawk be hiding with the sun come be up, but man, that sun goes down. PJ, what's happening? Yeah, Woodson got rewarded for that Super Bowl with Green Bay, but he got injured during that game. But yeah, he played damn near 20 years his damn self. So yeah, they from the same school, and he got rewarded. You know, they and that's how they do it. That's why I don't think Rodgers will outshine Brett Favre. I just don't see it. I think they're going to have the same ending. I think Favre is going to. I think Rodgers is going to leave. Favre outstayed his welcome, and he left. And that year he had with Minnesota, they scripted beautifully. They really did. They really did script it beautifully. It was a beautiful script for him. So till the last game when they got his ankle destroyed. But yeah, that's how they do it. That's how they do it. And they still, you know, the Raiders got rewarded by being able to finally go to Vegas, because you can study, look it up, that the Raiders owner, was it Mark Davis, got the weird wig. You know, he's one of the cash poor owners, but you know, in a few years, like I was saying, Michael Jordan put in 30 million. He owed 300 million. In a matter of few years, he paid that 300 million back. And now what we got 10, 12 years later, he paid it all back and holding that building. It was 60 yesterday and to tonight. Now it's dropped to 30. Shit, it's like 5 or 6 with a wind chill about 6, 7 and windy. And that's what they're afraid of tomorrow, is it's going to be so windy. Even if we get the dusting snow, we can get the whiteouts just because that wind is pushing all the swirling, dusting snow. But it probably won't be too bad. I don't imagine it's going to be too bad. Now, a foot of snow is no fun. No fun, because they might cancel school, I would guess maybe Tuesday. We'll see. We'll see. When I do responsible daddy hour, if you see all that snow behind me, you know it's there. But hey, it dropped cold. Yeah, oh yeah, definitely. It got cold. That's why I had to bust out the downfield for that. Rodgers gonna be like Favre, win one Super Bowl and go his career with another team. Yeah. And now, will they let him win at another team? Very possibly. But I just don't see them letting him outdo Favre. That's my thing, is I don't see him outdoing Favre. Because like the Packers talking about, they're going to pay him, but they ain't did nothing to help him. Now, I understand, you know, drafting another quarterback, you think that's going to help you in the future. But on the other hand, if you keeping this dude, you got to build the team up. And again, it's scripted, but, you know. And that's why I was saying their games was the worst to watch, because they had one person. That's why I made the video saying everybody and their mama knew Adams was going to get the ball, and they didn't double team him. But then we see that last game where he lost, they double teamed him. But that's the only weapon they've had for like 3 years. That's it. And you don't see all these double teams of him. So, but yeah, I agree, Lorenzo. He's not going to go any higher. He's not going to go any higher than that. I don't think. I mean, maybe they'll do what they did to Manny, maybe. But I think they did to Manny just because his brother won too. And if you really look at both of them, I mean, look at Manning in Indianapolis. It wasn't nothing but really short passes, intermediate passes. It wasn't no gun. Neither one of them had guns. I think their daddy probably had the stronger arm than they did. Definitely was a more mobile guy. I mean, he had to run for his life playing for a new team. If he comes to Denver, he get in the ring. They just did the sacrifice with Demetrius. That could be very well. Could be very well. Hey, Mr. Lamborghini leg lock, what's happening? I'm smooth. You know that. I'm very smooth. Did y'all see the dude who gave the baseball player the fentanyl laced shit? You see that he got convicted today? That baseball player that died in his hotel room that worked for one of the agencies. Isn't that some shit? That, the blame game. Well, he supplied it, so you're responsible. But he took it. Well, he trusted you that you gave him some good shit. uh, yeah, is he saying that because that's his team? Yeah, partly. That is his team. That is his team. You see, they said Mark. It's funny. Mark Zimmer's house went up for sale. I might have mentioned that earlier or yesterday for $2 million. It's a decent house. He lives in Inver Grove. That is kind of by where the facility is. But yeah, he put his house up and shit. What are you doing up so late? This is my brother. Why are you up so late? You got another 7 inches of snow? Damn. Yeah, our snow was melting. We've had mild weather all week. Whoa, you guys are getting it. But you guys, another storm came through. Hey, Jay, very kind words. Thank you. Wow, you guys are really getting it. Man. Yeah, it's mild here. And even tomorrow it's just supposed to ice rain a little bit. We'll see. But and I ain't really got nothing to do but pick my daughter up. That's about the highlight of my day. I did all my running around today. It's funny, like down here there ain't no mask. The schools dropped the mask. Up in a town, I had to go in Hopkins and do a little business. Then I had to go to I had to go to St. Louis Park. So I'm about to go. I went into one business, just got the business done, came out. And I was kind of like peeping all these people still wearing masks. I'm like, why are these motherfuckers wearing masks? So I was about to go to TJ Maxx. Yeah, MAX Max, the Marshall Dayton's kind of Target, their other business, Home Goods. That one's a mix. It's a TJ Maxx and a Home Goods combined. They all wearing masks. I'm like, what? I was really like, yeah. So I guess my mother told me they I guess the city, Minneapolis, is still like that. They ain't dropped it. So I was like, oh, he said 7 inches of snow in the Kansas City area as well. Dang. Hey, do you know Ziz? Do you know the dude I was talking about that runs the co-op down there that grows his own stuff? And then he has a store, and then people don't have the money, they can work on the farm and get the stuff. Do you know that dude down in Kansas City? Now I don't know which Kansas City he's in. You ain't right. You are a Bronco fan, buddy. You are a Bronco fan. We might have to make a trade. I get you some gear from here, and you give me some Bronco gear because the blue is kind of cool. We'll see. We'll see. Oh, that's cool. I wear big Vikings gear and got Eagle gear. And I get the Vikings gear because it's so freaking affordable. It's really affordable. They be getting rid of that shit. Now the baseball stuff is coming out. The Viking stuff is like put in the back. It's definitely half priced. Look at this. This is like a square shaped. I love it. I get cigars from 2 places, but my boy likes to vape, so the juice is illegal. Like here in Prior Lake, there's only one store that sells juice. Used to be everybody could sell it, and he can't sell it, so he's suing them. But you can drive 5 miles and you can go get it. So they had these, and what I noticed is the cigars I get from my close place, their temperatures in their humidor is messed up because most of the cigars I get from them is dry. Now I've been munching on this for a few hours, and you still see it's still, it ain't all ate up. Them dry ones eat up quick. So lessons learned. If they did it for Manning, they could do it for Rodgers. Yeah, it'll be a better showing than that last season of Manning. He shouldn't even been in the league. I mean, that shit just made no sense. The Super Bowl made no sense. Yeah, it made no sense. Made no sense. We could do that. Oh, that's funny. How is Black? Man, I ain't seen Black in a minute. It's funny you mentioned him. I've been thinking about him because, I think both of their children are grown. I know his son is grown, But Mom helped Mikhail get that job, so I got to give him a call. I got to give him a call. I ain't talked to that brother in about a year. I got to give him a call. I still got his number. I got to call him. He lives, he lives in the hood, but they live like 2300 block, I think. They live like blocks from where Shannon lives. Shannon lived like right there in Dodge City. What is it? Penn and Broadway. That's dead middle hood on the north side. Penn and Broadway. Yeah, that last championship was scripted. Hell yeah, it wasn't even scripted good. Like Cam don't go after the fumble, but I go back to, I think they all knew what time it was when they called back that catch that would have gave Cam and them a first down during the first drive or before the strip fumble touchdown. He should have been in there. No offense. Yeah, he really shouldn't have been it. Oswald, or whatever the tall dude's name was, it got one of them teams gave him all that bread. Like if you remember when Dion was first on CBS and he had got all that money from Dan Snyder. And remember, they be having them deferred payments. And, Dion was kind of bragging how Dan Snyder was still paying him. And that's what happens a lot of times. They sign you for this big bread, but they'll defer it a little bit. And so, a lot of players, even, what is it? Bobby Bonilla is the greatest one. Bobby Bonilla, every year he get what, 1.8 or no, he get more than that. He gets, maybe somebody can remember, but it's like millions. And he ain't played in 30 years. And because of deferred payments, they still owe him. So around this time every year, then they'll mention it. You'll see it. Bobby Bonilla get paid again. That must be a good life. Getting them checks. Hey, Gray. Goodell's script writing was a point on these playoffs. Well, as I said before, they tend not to let the new teams win. They just, I don't know. Again, we can say Eagles, we can say Saints, we can say the Rams, and the Rams was long ago. But we just see they just really are very stingy in that means. And basketball and college basketball, I think, runs that same theme. Now, will they let Gonzaga? I don't think so. Now, I don't know if y'all watched the game. Michigan won, I'm pretty sure, but Keegan Murray put it on them. I was trying to think of their dad's name, Kenyon Murray, and he has Keegan, and I can't think of the other son. The other son seems to be a little taller, but they say Keegan is up for Mr. Basketball. He was putting work in on Michigan. He was like, he knew that they couldn't stop him where he was straight to the hole every time. Then his brother hit a couple threes. They was hooping. I think they lost to Michigan, though. I was turning back and forth. And, of course, Embiid scores 42 points. Remember, they just got blowed out by them the other day in Philadelphia. Now they beat them in Milwaukee. Do you see how they do that? And it's funny, like teams like Milwaukee, it's more to do here than it is Milwaukee. The benefit of Milwaukee, you 45 minutes from Chicago. So, Chicago's nowhere from Milwaukee. So that's what most people, if they got a layover, is you can still go party in Chicago. You that close. You are that close because it ain't a whole lot in Milwaukee. And as I said before, the most ugliest people in America seem to go to Milwaukee or Wisconsin. I'm not just going to say Milwaukee. And this is 20 years of seeing ugly parents and ugly children. The most ugly people in America live in Wisconsin. I'm not joking. They let Baylor win champ, my hometown. Yeah, but Baylor won it in the 60s. Baylor won it in the 60s, late 50s or 60s. That's why I like for UCLA to win it after they went that string of 7 or 8. See, UCLA did the same thing Boston did. Boston won, 8 years in a row? UCLA did something very similar with John Wooden. And it's funny, if you watch the thing on John Wooden and paying athletes, John Wooden had a rich booster that was paying athletes. It was interesting if you didn't catch that little thing they did when Wooden died, but they showed the rich booster. Players didn't really have a lot to say about this. CBS trying to pass the big African center torch from Giannis to Embiid a little bit. A little bit. Embiid really, his game is really more of a four though. I mean, he plays center, but that's why Lopez helped him so he could play a four. And then did you see he hit a shot? I was like, yeah, get out of here with that. He hit a three. It's like, nah, that three was totally manipulated. And I get so tired of, doing the manipulated shots because you just constantly, it's like, I'll say this of games. 30% at least are manipulated shots. I would say as high as 30%. Nah, it is his last. Z, it is. It's his last season. One of the dude on the bench is going to take over next year. His top assistant is going to take over, but this is his last season. It is his last season. Hey, Mo Ray, who's winning it? I'm still sticking with Well, I think it's still going to be the Warriors. It's going to be a Wilt ritual with the Warriors, and I think the Sixers. I think the script will be for the Sixers. That's what I think. I don't know if they're going to let Steph win again. I don't think so. I mean, it was hard enough. It was hard enough to make you believe he could do that first season when he was shooting it from, he didn't like they had Steph shooting so good with the basket manipulation. He wasn't even leaving his house. He was just throwing a basketball out the window and the shit was traveling and they was giving him like for that long one shot, they was giving him like 40 points. I just don't so that's who I'm still going with, Mo Ray. I'm still sticking with the Sixers. It's funny how they trying to rationalize change history. Brady fumbled the ball. End of story. Yeah, very much so. Everybody knows. But see, they mock you. They mock you. They say, ha ha. They say, ha ha, we cheated this game, but people still believe. They believe our story. They believe our story. And they still love our sport. So, ha ha to all you. And that was a slap in the face of all the people that do work like mine. It was. There was a mocking. They were mocking people, laughing at people, saying, ha ha, we know we cheated, but there's nothing you can do about it. And they still love sport. Look at the timing they did it right after their Super Bowl, where people are really into the story, Stafford. And that's how they, that's the mocking they do. Well, it's not really believable. He's such a little dude. It's not really, after a while, it doesn't become believable anymore. And that's the problem I see is it's just not believable. That's kind of why it's Trae Young a little bit. But what's funny is when he was hurt, remember the camera stayed on him? Remember that? The camera was staying on him, doing that stupid shit on the bench because he knew the camera was on him. And I'll say this. This is something I don't quite understand. And I watch players do it. Like, okay, the way the live board goes is when you go to, and you don't see football players doing it as much. Football players will watch the replay to show they hold or show they touchdown. But basketball players, all of them, I mean the top stars down to the bench riders, when it's a timeout, and what I was going to just follow my what I was saying is live TV is on the big board. Now, if they have other monitors, other big screens, those are the end game. The big board shows live TV. But I still don't understand why they are so like, here these dudes be on a timeout and they're looking up at the board. I don't get that. I don't get that. And even the bench riders like look up. So like it's not like you ain't been doing your thing on a national level for how long you've been doing it. But they look up almost like if anything was a simulation, it makes me think that because why? I don't understand that. Why, when you just got off the court or you've been on the court, then the camera's on you. So what is I don't get why they look up at the big board. I don't get that in basketball. That makes no sense to me. You're on, like, especially for LeBron. All of them do it. And then AD, the dudes, the Craig Facts dudes was dogging AD too. They was dogging his ass like, yeah, he hurt again. It's like every time he fall, he get hurt. Hey, Sean, thank you for joining. Every time AD fall, he get hurt. He jumped up to get a pass, and he fall down in agony. I mean, that dude, if they don't cut that dude this summer or get a trade, get him out of here. He injury prone. Injury prone. He played what, 3, 4, 5 games and he get hurt again? What, he got the worst luck in the world? Or is it scripted fake injury, which it could be? I thought the same thing. I wish Charles Woodson would have went off script and whooped his ass in that college. Yeah, he needed that ass whooping, didn't he? I get you there. I feel you on that. What do you think about I Am Athlete podcast? I watched an episode where they were going off about the NBA versus NFL contracts. I never watched that, so I don't know who that is. So I had to check it out. But yeah, it's not fair. I mean, for the players to go through what they go through, the minimum NBA contract is still around $1 million. The minimum NFL contract is around 3, 4, 500,000. Like they were showing a dude who started. It was like a lineman, defensive or offensive lineman who started and had been there a few years. I think he was off his rookie deal, but he was making like 1 or 2, 3 million. So yeah, they get screwed. The NFL gets screwed when it comes to contracts. Morant is the next D Rose. No, don't say that, because D Rose was an injury prone mug too. So don't put that on him. Don't put Morant. We don't wish no injuries on Morant. Hey, Trill, what's happening? Thank you for joining. So yeah, don't put that injury bug like Rose. Rose was done for a couple years. That seemed to be the thing now. These dudes be hurt for a couple years and then they come back and be journeymen. You know, the game here, they had scripted for Rose to score 50. He crying afterwards. Oh, man, you just... And I don't understand, like, if you're talking to a female reporter, why would you say man? I don't get that. I don't get that. Oh, and I'll say this first. You know, the chick, she used to be here. The sideline reporter for NBC, Michelle, whatever her name is, Teflaforia or some old shit. But the sideline reporter in the Super Bowl, I think it's Michelle or whatever her name is. But, you know, she's a conservative. She was on regular TV here before she got the NBC gig. So she was a local. She was with Carrie Levin. And then as they was bringing her in the game, so she's a conservative. So she's been on Fox several times. And she's going to run the Republican challenger to the governor. So she's going to be the campaign director of the Republican running for governor in Minnesota, I do believe, is going to be her next gig. Both Brady and Wilson are having a good laugh off because they both got a championship and know it's scripted for good television. Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Bo Ray, I feel you. That podcast with Brandon Martian. Oh, okay. Yeah, I ain't never checked him out, Sean. I ain't never checked him out. Rose was an incredible player. Shit, Rose was the man. I mean, that Chicago game, like, he is one of the few examples of a Chicago player since Isaiah, where you got an all-round Chicago player. Now, Mark Aguirre did it for a couple years because people forget, you know, the first 3-4 years up until his championships in Detroit. But I'll say this to Mark Aguirre, and this is what you see when you don't have a lot of athleticism. Mark Aguirre was a good basketball player. He wasn't a great athlete. And just like you can look at George McGinnis, how when the athleticism died, these guys was done. Compared to Adrian Dantley, that was still a great athlete, and still it didn't matter how old he got. He could still take everybody to the hoop. Mark Aguirre lost it fairly quickly. Like after them 2 championships in Detroit, if you looked, and I can't remember when how many years after Adrian Dantley moved on from Detroit he played, but he was, you know, Mark Aguirre, he sank really quickly, and you saw the same thing with George McGinnis. George McGinnis hooped in Indiana, but by the time he was at Denver, and this was a cat, George McGinnis had such bad habits, and Roger Brown too. These mugs would drink a beer and smoke a square after practice. uh, yeah, Rose was incredible. I mean, like really, Rose. What they did is they hurt Rose on purpose. He shouldn't have been in the game when he got hurt. When he got hurt, he shouldn't have been in the game. They was beating the team. It's the same way they hurt that Oklahoma or excuse me Alabama quarterback. He shouldn't have been in the game, and they wanted him hurt on purpose. And I think the same thing with Rose. He shouldn't even been in the game when he got hurt. And Thibodeau couldn't backtrack off that shit. But AD is just man that he's the unluckiest NBA player in the league. He just has no luck whatsoever. Every time he turn around, they're going to put him in the bubble suit. You're going to see him hooping with the bubble suit on. You know when they say people trip over the lines and shit? That's him. He trip over the lines and get hurt. But what? He was MVP, wasn't he? Rookie of the year and MVP. Only a couple of dudes did that. His MVP year, you know, they still make his shoes. Shoes is still doing kind of decent, even though he's a journeyman now. But his shoes is still doing kind of decent. But he was a dog that year. You know, before he got hurt, he was a real dog. I mean, he was explosiveness that at his size. Like I think him and Marbury are about the same size. That you couldn't compare the two. I mean, his game was so much more explosive. I mean, again, to be such a young player to get the MVP, yes, it's scripted, but at points they do let them show their athleticism. Michelle Tofoya. Yeah, Michelle Tofoya. Yep, that's her. She is on now she's on Fox. You seeing her on Fox as a contributor. And she left a lucrative job. So she says she could have her voice. After he assaulted Dwight. I think if Dwight really would have went at his ass, he'd have beat his ass. Dwight probably held back. Because AD, nothing about AD look hard. But, you know, Dwight, you remember they had to sew him back up. You know, they had to sew his rectum back up. I can't say what happened to his rectum, but his rectum was wrecked. And not to say that couldn't happen naturally, but, you know, you try to shove things in that thing for so long and things are kind of made to go out. Maybe they didn't lube it up enough. Yeah, his ass can't stay healthy. Hell no, he can't stay healthy. It's crazy how he played for the coach that killed him. He shouldn't have been in that game. Yeah, absolutely. He shouldn't have been in the game. Nope. Hey, Vanetta. I was up in your area today. Anthony Street Clothes. Absolutely. Yeah. They showed him do that a couple times, grabbing dudes' junk on the bench. I don't know. Corey Holcomb said he was with one dude at some party, some get together, and he had a little dude with him. Say this New York City was putting players in the NBA, but I'll say since the millennium hit, Chicago is not a city that's putting guys in the NBA. Yeah, well, it kind of like the LA dudes was talking about, you know, all the LA players, and it's such a big state, LA and Florida, Texas. It's almost a rhythm to it. But again, you know, they know who these people are since AAU ball, you know. These people who they want to push, they discover them at very young ages. And they know the handlers already. The handlers been doing this AAU stuff now forever. And so they've got this system. I mean, just as they create the boys in Europe, they create the boys here. And what's so sad is how they break them. You know, they'll raise them and then they'll break them. Like, I hate to say Shotty Vaughn all the time, but I mean, how do you go from a number one pick and then, you know, you play into your new contract, but really after his rookie year, he didn't even hardly play, which made no sense, especially for that team. And then you draft a dude, Van Cheezel, or the dude from Villanova, there's a shorter. I mean, the picks made no sense. To get rid of him and not develop him in the system, and you kept a dude like Middleton, Shotty could have merged with them dudes. but not given a chance, not given the chance. And it's like they raise you up to slam you down. Like I said, when the laughter turns to sorrow. And that's a hard pill. One day you sitting here in this arena and doing your thing at interviews and, you know, just a meeting. And the next thing you know, you traded. In his instance, he was traded to Orlando and they cut him. No G League, no nothing. And Dallas picked him up. And he was playing in, last I knew he was playing in Turkey. But this is how they spit dudes out. I mean, how many number one picks they quit counting on? And you sign him to his second deal. And you sign him into his second deal. Now, some of that NBA money is of course, you get your second deal, the money guaranteed. But they'll pay dudes just to let them roam around. They got that kind of money. LeBron and Wade are more than friends. Did y'all see that shit with Shaq today? You know, he's supposed to be pushing, again, black. I mean, I should have brought my Black's Law Dictionary. You know, black means dead as far as a person, a non-entity, and people still accept this. And it's such a staple in our rap, you know. Well, you know, some black folks. Well, black folks means no folks. James Brown wants you to say it out loud. He don't even never say it. He don't even say it. James Brown don't say it. He wants everybody else to say it. So you don't think I'm black and I'm proud is propaganda? You don't think they went to him and said, you got to make something where they saying that shit? Because it was going from colored Negro. You hear King, he talking about Negro. I don't know if King ever said anything but Negro. And Negro went into Indians because the civil rights was Indian rights. That's why Kelly Kaufman was saying, you know, civil rights is for melanated people, colored folks, but it was for Indians. And the Indians they were talking about was the woodland Indians and the descendants of the woodland Indians, or the colored Indians. The indigenous people, not people that migrated. And you know, some of these tribes, the Obawijis, I know I don't say that right, but there was a lot of Eastern tribes that was pushed out. They started in New York, and now their reservation is in fucking northern Minnesota. West Africans and Native Americans mixed up into a new race. No, that ain't true. That ain't true. That is not true. Not Americans. We are not. We are not. Only 250,000 people came to North America. That's it. More people went to Brazil, but only 250,000. When you had, they don't even know how many people was here. So they didn't need slaves from anywhere else. Because remember, you had the Americans fighting the British. You had Indians taking sides, fighting against other Indians to help these sides. So really what it was the Revolutionary War was about the Indian tribes fighting as much as their disagreement, because out of it became land grabs. I mean, if it was a true they beat them, they would have taken their forces and kicked them out of Canada too. Why didn't they do that? They tell you they took, what was his name? Benedict Arnold. You know, he fought over there and whooped ass a little while. But no, they didn't need slaves. They didn't need African slaves in America. That's why I was hearing some shit talking about the first Africans went from Virginia. That's bullshit too. The first Africans that came on the continent was discovered by the Spanish. You had a British ship that sank or grounded on the coast of South America, and they was captured by the French, and they took that crew, and that crew had three or four Africans. Them the first Africans that come over here. So we are not descendants of North Africans or West Africans in any way, shape, or form. Not the majority of people. No. Because the Indians was the black folks, and we ain't got to make that up. You go to the Library of Congress, you can still see the pictures there. Who them pictures look like? Richard Pryor talking about somebody in Africa look like Joe Frazier. You can see mugs look like Joe Frazier coming from America. James Brown sold out. Sam Cooke, because they were about to get their own distribution, but it got shut down. Plus, Sam got his Sam like that's another story that you really can't believe. But see, his tricking got him killed. This nigga still was like into getting drunk, tricking with prostitutes, and that got him killed. They set him up. I mean, that story that the woman took his wallet and then he threw on a coat. So he discovers something's awry, okay? And then he runs to the office and he's just pounding, and she shoots through the door at this mug. And he has underwear on and just a jacket. That ain't believable. He was hit probably with mafia help. Probably with mafia help. Yep. James Brown screaming, say it loud. At Chris Cantine, an undercover brother will always be what they think when I hear that song. Looks like the trolls want to come play tonight. Whatever. Y'all snipe them if I don't snipe them. I tell you, one time PNF, they was trolling him heavy. I'd never seen anything like that. This was a computer, like where somebody sent out a bunch of different, like Nick Taylor says something interesting. Like you look at some of these trolls and you look at their accounts, they have no subscriptions. They 1 or 2 subscribers. It's like you can see the way they're generated. But the way they went after PNF was, I've never seen anything like that before. I mean, the AI was fucking with him. I mean, like, it was like they would send 50 trolls in a row at him. And luckily, I was able to snipe a bunch of them mugs. But I'd never seen, it was like probably 50 at a time they would send. So I'm just constantly, trying to help him out. But that's kind of how they want to do it. So you must be saying something right for them to want to come. So I ain't even really getting that deep. Oh. Just little old me. Like Craig and them's like, why all of them want to be Indians? Well, because that's what the grandparents told us. That slave shit. I ain't ran into any slaves in our family, my family. And my family been here from the beginning when them peoples came over here, when them Protestants came over here. So, and one of the family members fought for the revolution. I talked before, being taxed, because Indians today still ain't taxed. And being taxed became a status symbol. They made you think if you was an Indian and all of a sudden you taxed, you're a good tax. That's a good tax man. Became a status symbol for some. It's like my great-grandmother could have gotten indigenous money. One of my great uncles did. She didn't want it. Mm. Another black family, Mississippi, had the same heritage, a mixture of the 2 races, Negro and Native. Well, that's what my family has. My family is, as I said, I'm the 5th generation from 2 fully Native people, or not Native, full indigenous people. I'm the 5th generation of 2 full indigenous people. Now, their children married off and married different people. If we look up an old map by Sebastian Muster, we would see that Africa was on the northern part of the continent that's now a country called Tunisia by the Mediterranean. Yeah. Africa was just a country. It wasn't the whole thing. Yeah, absolutely. It wasn't the whole thing. That was just one of the states was in Africa. But yeah, it would be my great-grandfather's grandfather. And of course, my grandfather, which I knew his mother more than I knew him, she comes from Irish, Irish and indigenous. So that's where she comes from. So yeah, I mean, it's not, and I'm glad that it's some Irish, because Irish is like, they hate the British too. The bogus shit they did to the British, thousands of fucking Irish slaves in the South. And that's the term poor white trash. That's where that comes from. Facebook doesn't like that term either. Facebook hates that term, but that's what they called them. And you see it in Gone with the Wind. These people, not only was they slaving them people too, but they was making them fight. Like a lot of them went off to the Civil War. Conscription, which means you could pay somebody to take your spot. That's kind of what Vietnam was. If you went to college, you didn't have to go. That was a type of conscription. You didn't have to go if you was going to college. That's why when Donald Trump got out of college, his number came up and he got that bogus shit saying he had bone splints. He had bone splint, or he had heel spurs. So that stopped you from running? Not really. Not really. But I'll say, I don't know how Muhammad Ali, and I'm switching a little bit, I don't know how he ran in combat boots. I'd have been the same way after weeks running in combat boots. I wouldn't have been able to run at all. I'd have barely been able to walk because ain't nothing in combat boots. You think Converse is bad. Chuck Taylor's combat boots is worse. I don't know how dudes ran in them. And Ali, he complained of his hands. I ain't never heard him complain of his feet. Back in the day when my mother told my granddaddy's mother was full-blooded Cherokee Indian. I said, wow, we ain't from Africa. That's right. That's right. And as I say, my generation and older, it's hard to tell them that. It's hard to tell dudes 63, 64. It's hard to tell them that. They are so indoctrinated. And as I was saying with my cousin, it probably cost his life going to Egypt. It probably cost his life going to Kemet, thinking it's the motherland when he could have just went to Boston and stuck his feet in that ground. That is his motherland. Brought us over here to set up colonies in countries like Liberia. Yeah, exactly. That was the Tubmans. You know, that's the Tubmans. I think the first president of Liberia was a Tubman, but that's what the Tubman name come from, taking people off farms and putting them on the ship and taking them over there. And that's what set up the wars for over there. Because it was the American descendants fighting the ones that was there already, because America backed them. Madison, I think, did that. So yeah. That was part of Marcus Garvey shit. Marcus Garvey was doing the Umar Johnson thing, you know, saying shares of the ship and you can go back. That ain't shit that people here wanted to do. People here wasn't getting in lines like, man, they going back to Africa. Shit, I don't know nobody over there. Like Richard Pryor said, millions of people over there and not one Pryor. And if you have any African friends, they'll tell you they don't even like other tribes. So you really think they're gonna like you? I've had a few African friends. That's what they was like. No, they're very tribal over there. Very tribal. My oldest son is your complexion. I said, if you ain't got no African roots. I mean, my boys with the Potawatomi woman, you know, they look more fair. They look more fair. Like my daughter, she's kind of keeping her tan. Like my oldest son, and this is a true story. My oldest son was a very fair baby, very fair. When he was 1, we took him to see his grandmother, where my ex-wife is from. And, you know, again, North Carolina in the summer, you know, June, July, it'd be in the hundreds. And him being exposed, because we normally stayed a week or 2. I can't remember what we stayed this time, but the tan he got, it was like he got that homeland, and it opened up his melanin, and the complexion he is today came from that summer. He never lost that complexion. It was like being in that homeland, because my people is from North Carolina, Virginia area, and her people too, and him being down there, that sun opened up his melanin, and he's darker than I am. And my other son is darker as well with her. You know, my 2 sons, they're darker with her. And my 23, about to be 24-year-old son is darker than her and I, because she's about my complexion. I'm a little more golden, you know. My complexion is more golden, you know. I'm more of the golden man. our people don't want to go to no Africa, not even Canada. You said that right. It ain't really shit up in Canada. Toronto, but the rest of that shit, it's yeah. Toronto's nice, but the rest of that shit, nah. Nah. Like I've been up to the boundary waters where the Mississippi starts and shit. You know, it's yeah. Like northern Michigan is the worst. It's like being in Canada. And like think about this, where the if you look at Minnesota on the map, we just as high as like northern Michigan. And northern Michigan gets buried in the snow. I had a cousin that because he worked in the air base out of I think it's St. Ignace. He was talking about how inexpensive the houses was. And as soon as I said, but all that goddamn snow, what do you do about that shit? Yeah. That ain't no fun. It's people complain about living here. I'm just so tired of the because the only time it's fucked up here, because keeping this in mind, when it ain't snowing, the roads is clear. And that's most of the time. That's like 80% of the winter. It is clear roads. It's just cold, snow. But when it snows, it makes it tricky to drive, no doubt. That's why you see mostly trucks up here. I mean, you see cars, but mostly trucks. Because you're just so low. It's like when you see cars and it snow like 8-9 inches, cars sit so low. And a lot of cars, like they try to go into like their house and shit, they get stuck right there because that car sits so low. I wore combat boots for 4 years in the Air Force, 16 years at Cytex, rubbed most of the hairs off. Man. See, that was one thing that hurt me when I worked. That really hurt me when I worked is I had I couldn't stand in one place at one time. So if I had to do that, I would always get mats. Now, of course, when I worked behind desk, that was even better. Like when I worked for Johnson Control and I was the lab manager, the quality lab manager, that was gravy. I had my own desk, rarely had to stand up. But I've had other jobs where I had to stand up. So I would go look for industrial mats, and that made it bearable. Industrial mats made it bearable for me. I like to see, yeah, me too. I would like to see them too. I'd like to see the, matter of fact, I'm going to Arkansas. I might see if I can go see the Sapero Mounds, how close I'm going to be to them and try to go see them. But yeah, I'd like to go to St. Louis too and see the mounds there. Tasha has a great book I'm going to order, a catalog that has some of the Sapero stuff catalog. But yeah, Chicoa, a lot of energy down there. I mean, that was actually the biggest pyramid complex in the world as far as the mass amount of pyramids. And, you know, of course, what was done is what is always done. They only know to destroy. Only know to destroy, not preserve, unless they can make money off it. I mean, Sapero mounds, some of the mounds, they just completely destroyed. One people were trying to sell one of their mounds and nobody bought it, so they just did away with it. Did fucking away with it. And same thing in Wisconsin. Wisconsin had the most mounds per mile. So when they first went in there were mounds like everywhere. That's why you look at some of the mud flood pictures, ain't nothing but them digging them mounds out and building towns over where they dig. Just look at the pictures and you can see where they've been digging in mounds. And they want to tell you they was digging some shit out, like a house out. That's why you hear that shit. That shit is so insulting when they talk about Manhattan and like, well, you know, that these houses was buried until Europeans came and Europeans dug the houses out. Like in all the history where people lived on that island, like nobody stumbled across some shit was like, damn, you know, the dirt fell off and they, you know, keep digging and shit and it's a big ass mansion. I mean, how stupid does that shit sound? That shit sounds stupid. You know, it's insulting. What do you think about disturbed statues of racist figures? I mean, who cares? Who cares? I mean, I guess if you looked at it from like a ley line point of view, yeah, there's energy that comes off of that, and they put that there on a ley line, and it amplifies depending on what kind of monument they put there. And so if you say that these old Confederate shit amplified Europeans having an advantage, yes, it did, absolutely. Those statues did do that, no doubt. And in some ways, pulling that shit down kind of broke curses. So you got to kind of give it to the younger people. Like Pike, that shit with Pike, I never thought that would come down. I was very surprised when they tore the Pike shit down. But the history, see, and this is what that CRT, they don't want you to teach that Columbus was a murderer. They don't want you to teach how brutal parts of slavery was. Parts. They don't want you to teach Jim Crow. They're hoping that shit will generation out. So when they make new books, it says nothing about that. That's why they don't want it taught. It ain't nothing about shaming Europeans. It's about making them face it at a young age. Saying, don't be like this. That's the idea behind it. This is where you come from. Try not to be like this. Try to be better people than this. That's all. That's what they're trying to do, is trying to make these people that have a bloodlust, the imbecile psychopath. I mean, there's a bloodlust in this country that goes through Europeans that's hard to deny. And it's not bashing them. It's just look at the history. I mean, where can you find more bloodlust? Look at all the wars in Europe. And they got smart and stopped fighting each other. That's why I don't even look at this Russia thing. They don't. European-looking people do not want to fight European-looking people again. Do you know how the losses they took? And they really ain't recovered like they make you think they recovered worldwide. That devastated them. World War I and World War II devastated them. And they didn't learn, and really until going into the 50s, they didn't learn that they needed to quit killing each other, or they wasn't going to be here and we didn't have to do nothing. I mean, it wasn't just them killing soldiers. They killed millions of civilians of each other. I mean, millions of European civilians got killed in World War II. Millions. It's like 20, 30 million civilians. And I ain't talking about what the Jewish faith people say happened to them. I ain't talking about that. I'm talking about just the general civilian population of Europe. Lost millions in World War I, lost millions in World War II. Millions. And so they was killing their own population because of their hate and greed. And that's all these wars was them, was greed. Well, we need a little bit more of that land. That go back to William the Conqueror. Well, wait a minute. My daddy fucked that bitch too. And here I am. I should be the king too. So William goes over there and fights his brother or half cousin, whatever. And then we have William the Conqueror, the king of England from France. People integrated here like all the same Eastern Hemisphere. Only moving our people did was from the south to the north. Yeah. I mean, we got pushed off of farms too. I mean, when Dayton say, the voting rights took away some of the land rights, he don't really explain how that happened, but it's my Earth Day. Even I don't rock with the age. We just evolve. Well, enjoy your day. I mean, really enjoy your day, brother. We still feel that even though we don't recognize their number, we should still be celebrated and appreciated. That's all. Celebrating. We're also watching them change definition big time since 220, firsthand experience. Yeah, definitions of everything. Yes. So this is what the conservatives, and I am more conservative, but and I look at that and what they're afraid of that. They're afraid of the truth. They don't want the truth taught. And that's what the conservative push is. So we'll see how this ends up. Because they ain't broke no books down and saying, because see, they break down what teachers do and the way their lesson plans go. That's the false. They take an individual that really didn't understand how to put the lesson plan together and say, well, you tell them you apologize. Because again, we got simpletons. We got people without the social skills to really break down. And no, we're not shaming these children. We're saying don't evolve into that. That's basically what we're saying. Don't evolve into this. This has to break. This has to break somewhere. This is not good for the whole. And I was hearing somebody saying today about killing the earth. Look, they can't kill this earth. This is a living. Well, let me hold up. I guess I'll start here. The base thing we live on is a living thing. Now, how close we are with the base, that's where the simulation shit come in. We can't really say. That's why I'm the only one that says, and this is just, I'm the only one that says that, like, and this is another thing that flat plane people miss. Just like we see the Borg and we see the cube planet they can fly through, if this planet went through a dimension that required that to be cubed, it could cube. And they missed that. It could cube because this thing can turn into whatever it has to turn into to move through space-time. Now, do we move like following the sun and shit? I don't know about that. Vanetta, what's up? Indian Mounds Regional Park, St. Paul's, beautiful with 5 burial mounds. You and I should go there. We should go there and check it out sometime. You know, you can always get in contact with me. It's eaglesarethe.bomb@gmail.com because it's about 45 minutes, I heard. Because I was supposed to go a couple years ago to help clean up. I guess it's a lot to clean up, so I got to go down there. I really got to go down. I want to do a live, go down there and do a live too. So we should travel down there sometime because it's not that far from either one of us. Have you heard of the 3 tree theory? Nah, tell me that. Tell me what that is. I'm only familiar with the tree of life, the water tree. So go ahead and hit me with it. Go ahead, hit me with it. But yeah, it's got to be a lot of energy down there at those burial mounds. It's got to be like going through Wisconsin. You can see where all the mounds are, and they just started growing shit over them. You can just look at the country, and you can see still see the mounds. Like even this area down here is still very moundsy. Like I talk about the park where I go to all the time to play pickleball, or one of the parks. It's nothing but big mounds everywhere. Like it's a hill that's nice. It's a hill that if you an adult and get on a sled, it's fun. It's just walking back up. It ain't fun. After a couple times, you know, for adult, you like children, it's wear the fuck them out of it. But it's like a woo, you know, it's like some shit you'd almost pay for. Yep. So no, you have to hit me, our Lord. Hit me. Let me know what that is. I'm not hip to it. I guess I could write it down and look it up. Ooh. 3 tree theory. Okay. Okay, I'll check it out. I don't mind researching. I love to research. I got about 6, 7 books I got to read. I read like 2, 3 books at a time. One dude was like, well, I can only read 1 book at a time. Not me. I read a bunch of them at a time. I'm reading the Tano and the Columbus story. And I'm reading about Pontiac, which is really fascinating to me, seeing them in those lands. And, you know, that's why I've taken the name Big Pontiac, because he's not just a car. He wasn't just a car. He was a real warrior that was against them. He was a real warrior that was against them and fought them. And then, you know, when it was so-called peace, and, you know, he had a couple years of peace, and then they send an agent in there to murder him. Hell, Crazy Horse goes on the reservation, and they murder him. Coaxed him on the reservation, and they kill him once he gets on the reservation because he was so powerful in what he did to Custer. At least Tecumseh, you know, he got killed in battle, which really was a mistake because he didn't understand. Like if you really like look at it, like at a certain point, even if you're a warrior or you're a chief or you carry the war belt, at a certain point at a certain age, you kind of sit back and you don't really fight. You've got to direct forces. And I think that's where, you know, they were looking to kill him because they figured if they killed him, it was going to kill a lot of that energy that was trying to stop them from coming into the Midwest. He was really one of our last barriers of the Midwest. Tecumseh, again, is the same. They were the last barriers to the West. Pontiac and Tecumseh are the 2 that really tried to get all the tribes to fight them. But we had tribes that sided with the British. The Cherokees, one of them, sided with the British. stayed with the British. Shit, the Cherokee, as I've mentioned several times, the Cherokee started fighting with the Confederates. And then they switched sides during the war. It reminds me of Black Hawk Down. They only had the one brother in the thing. And, the brother is like all locked in the house. And then you see the scene where the next scene, the brother's wearing African clothes and shit. He melts and sneaks out the house and he walks to the base and then he takes off the African clothes. He puts the army clothes back on and he starts running with him like he had all along. He was smart. He blended in. It's basically surface Earth is the first plane, humans and animals. The second and third planes of existence is what giants and supernatural beings live. Okay. I get a little bit of that. A little bit of that goes into Odin, kind of some of that kind of mythology. But yeah, well, I think giants lived on the earth at one time too. It just really appears so. You can't really make any sense out of the copper mines in Michigan without that, without knowing that smells like coffee, not knowing that giants had to have lived on this earth. And then just my experience, I don't really talk about it anymore, but again, my experience of living when the people lived in the trees. And I ain't talking about no monkeys. I'm talking about really lived in the trees. And then we had grounders, and then we had kind of the same thing. We had people that lived in the upper atmosphere. Kind of very similar. But that's why to this day, we live in tree or wooden built dwellings, because we were those type of humanoids that we had the contact with the trees. That's why I was talking about last night. I can put my hand on a tree, and maybe I didn't finish my thought, but I can like connect with the tree. Like there's a tree, I call it mother tree, but like all these trees really, like as I go gazing with planets and shit, and as I said before, there's an exercise you can do to kind of break the dimension. You take a crystal and you put the crystal up and you start gazing at a planet, and you feel the dimension change, and you start seeing the real what the trees really are. You see the real self of the trees. And it's not easy thing to do, because even I've practiced this last 5 years, and the most I can hold it is about 5 minutes, because it takes something to because what happens when you first get these abilities, you see it out the corner of your eyes, because to concentrate to even make it change, you've got to concentrate on this crystal and the planet. But after a while, you're able to kind of break your gaze, still holding the crystal, and you can see the personalities of the trees, or the tree's real essence. And so it's like the veil is even very thin through that. I mean, the veil is that thin that we can break through that easy. I am here in Ohio. I knew about the mounds, not the pyramids. I need to look into that. So yeah, but it's like the most pyramids are in America. The biggest pyramid is in America. So that Africa shit, the first civilization, this is the oldest civilization they fucking know about, is these folks, especially in the Americas. But they lie so much about history. I'm telling you, Venice was built after they went back and they saw how to do it. They went back and built Venice. Now they try to tell you this shit, nah, that shit ain't that old. And that's the point of Mudflush, proving that shit ain't that old. Some history for you. I'm a first African born in Worthington, Minnesota, in Ebony and Jet magazine, August 65, U.S. congressional record acknowledged by Senator Mondale and President Johnson. Wow. So you around my brother's age. You're a little younger than me. Wow. What's funny is my brother wasn't, but I was in Jet because my grandfather, like I tell you about my grandfather. I still have my grandfather's table. I've had it for 50 years. Well, he was a metal worker, and he had a metalworking business where my stepdad and his two brothers ran it. They all ran the business together. And we were in Jet. My brother wasn't born, but I think my mother was pregnant. So it might have been like 60. He's born in March, so it's probably 65. I don't think she was big pregnant. She didn't from the pictures, but it's like they showed his business and they take a group picture. And again, I was like maybe 4. But yeah, I was in Ebony, not Jet, Ebony. They did an article because again, we were so close to Chicago. And this my grandfather was so talented that Disney offered him a job because they used to work at the newspaper together, and he had turned Disney down. But he was that talented of a illustrator. He ended up illustrating for Studebaker before they closed. Are there evil spirit in trees? Well, most of the time, like if you get into the fairies, you get into the gnolls, the what are the proper way to say it? Fairies, the gnomes. If you get into that, they are kind of supposed to protect for that. They're kind of the protectors of that kind of thing. Used to be, I know a lot of, this stuff isn't that old. These trees aren't that old. So a lot of those energies, they went after those energies. So it could be like if you look at a way they make a forest evil, like remember in Japan, they have the suicide forest. Well, that's acceptable. And shit, I'm an old chick. And you younger than me, though. You younger than me. You younger than me. I'm 60. You ain't made 60 yet. You and my brother ain't made 60 yet. The Wendigo, the dear woman of evil spirits. Oh, okay. The Wendigo, the dear woman, evil spirits. So they can there's things they can make evil energies stay around trees. Because really trees have trees control their environment so much and have so much communication that it really it's hard for negative to get a hold of that, because there's such a groundwork and network of just positive moving, because the trees have to work with everything. And so but again, portions can't be. And there are some type of entities that do want to dwell in that kind of thing in individual areas. It's hard for them to control mass areas, but small areas. So yeah, it's possible, not necessarily all the time. It has to be. What about national parks? A lot of people come up here missing, like sacrifices. Yeah, that is, Nico. That is a thing that. It's like, look, like what is it? Some movie where they was talking about missing at the big park in Arizona, the Grand Canyon. People be missing from that shit. How does a child that's right next to you just come up missing? It's like professional shit. Professional snatchers, are involved in this kind of thing. So, that child. I mean, again, one of the biggest way the Spanish conquered was taking the women and children. It's easier to turn them. Harder to turn grown folks, but it's easier to turn women and children. But hell, you got to think, my brother could say the name, something boys, that like after what Pontiac had done, and they heard there were some Indians that was living on I don't know if it was a Quaker mission, but they was living in a mission, and they was Christians. And these Europeans just went in and slaughtered the Christian Indians. Eastern Indians went in and slaughtered them, because this is in Pennsylvania. He can say, my brother would know the name if he's still watching. Something boys, the Park Boys or some shit like that. Slaughtered all these Indians, women and children, old people. Not warriors, not fighting. So it's a bloodlust in America. But it's and that's why, like, you look at prostitutes, drug addicts, homeless people, we don't know how many of them get snatched off, because these people ain't counted no more. So that's really, if you look at homelessness, that's why they want homelessness, because it's easy to snatch them. It's easy to snatch them off the street. And nobody knows, nobody cares. You at the mission one day, then nobody ever sees you again. A lot of these people, the families cut them off. People with mental problems. They closed most of the psychiatric wards. Insurance won't pay it. Medicaid won't pay for that shit anymore. So that's why they was locking a lot of people up. Sounds like what Andrew Jackson did. Yeah, Andrew Jackson invaded another country. What he did was totally illegal. And Spain should have sued them. Totally illegal. Just like Napoleon sold land that he didn't own. And America supposedly paid the French for land that Napoleon didn't own. He didn't own all that shit. They had made treaties with them people, but he didn't own that shit he sold. The Americans knew he didn't own that shit. And then they go in there and claim it because they claim they bought it. It's like the same way they took over, what is it, Kentucky and Georgia? Or is it Kentucky, Tennessee? It's like they made a treaty. In the treaty, they lied to them and took whole states. What the Indians designed the shit is just thinking these people just want, some place to hunt. And no, they gave away millions, billions of acres. I mean, you look at what they would do is like the Indian would sell them the land and then they would walk off the land. So they counted the land in acres by steps at one point, especially them Quakers in Pennsylvania. And then they would start putting fences up. And if the Indians happened to, hunting some shit and happen to just go a little bit on their land, and then they want to fight and kill them, and telling them because they didn't really understand what they truly gave up. Because they knew when they went into other tribes' area, it was kind of risky, but this was like murderous when you went into the European areas that you gave them. And then they finally made a treaty say, don't come over the Ohio River. And then you got all these convicts and shit that they was bringing over. And then they had a little freedom. And of course, these people were bloodthirsty already because a lot of them was over criminals. I mean, people talk about the criminals that went to Australia, and they pushed that. Well, Australia was made with criminals. You learned that in school. But they don't tell you more criminals came to America. Way more. It's almost triple the amount of criminals they sent to Australia came over here. Because it was the kind of thing like with Jimi Hendrix. You go in the army or you go to jail. That's what with them. Well, you go to jail or you get on this boat and you do what you're told. But yeah, Andrew Jackson invaded. And of course, by that time when he invaded, the Spanish really weren't really strong, and definitely now they had been defeated. I mean, I think the Dutch even defeated the Spanish. So the Spanish, the people that originally took it, couldn't hold it. I mean, you even look at Isabella and her finances. When she won the war against the Moors, it was on very thin ice. They were very, very country broke. And of course, she and her husband died. They died young. I mean, they lived hard. I mean, this chick was riding horses for hundreds of miles, pregnant and shit. I mean, Isabella was a bad bitch. I mean, if you study Isabella, it's crazy how she really had a command ability. She really did have ability of command. And so she was riding all over to Spain to, muster up people to fight all the groups. I mean, it was the Moors, but it was other groups kind of attacking her too. And she was the one that put the boot to ass on the Jewish faith people. And that's why that's why really the Catholic Church is full of Jewish faith people, is basically because of Isabella. They found it a greater means to control. And I know you've probably heard me say this before, but you have to understand this is what changed for the Jewish faith people. Thousands and thousands of them went into the Catholic Church, and they still run it today. That's why, as much as I'm cool with Zach, by them saying Jesuits and giving them people a break, it makes you wonder who you work for. because the Jesuit name ain't nothing but a new name for the Illuminati. But historians come in like me that says, wait a minute, them Jesuits is full of Jewish faith people, conversos, a lot of conversos join the Jesuits. And I'm not here to bash them. There's good people in every group. But if you just look at who controls TV, who controls the movies, who controls the magazines, who controls basketball, they've always controlled basketball. Europe's rejects and mentally ill were sent out to the colonies as a get out of jail free card. That's right. And a lot of them was murderers then. It was easy for them to come over and murder. And then and the thing that they would do is they would follow the seasons and know when the men was gone. And then they go in there and kill all the women and children and old people. This is a tactic you see over and over again. Or mass up, 300-400 of them and go raid a small tribe of about 100-200. They did this over and over again. They wouldn't go to the big tribes that had thousands. They went into them small tribes that had just small numbers, who was kind of gave up and trying to assimilate. And then they would go just murder them and then take over their towns. And this ain't Basher. The Paxton Boys. Yes, that's the name right here. The Paxton Boys. In 1763, fucking with the Susquehanna. And these were people that had turned over to be, they called them Catholic Indians. Woodland, again, East Coast tribes. Yep, the Paxton Boys, because of what Pontiac had done. So, and it's not hate at anybody. It's just look at history in proper perspective. That's all. That's all we saying. We're taking a real hard, cold look at how they did it. And you study enough and you see, and they still doing it. This ain't, this kind of thing still ain't changed. I mean, there's no white supremacy. That don't exist. That's a construct that they made for you to bow down to and you to call it something. Did you hear about Derek going off on Zach? No. What is Derek's channel called? They broke up a long time ago. That's why Zach kind of uses another gematinator. But I don't even remember what Derek's channel is called, because when they took away my channel, I lost all the people I subscribed to. And so I got to look Derek up, because Derek is something in his name. But like my brother, like when I was doing my talk show, my very first talk show was with my brother and with Derek. And Derek is cool. Derek is real cool. But he talked to, I think my talk show, we did damn near a 3-hour show. And Derek stayed the whole time talking shit, Derek talks shit. And Derek is in Wisconsin. Derek ain't that far from here. He's in Wisconsin. I wouldn't mind going over there and meeting him. He was kind of leery of that, but he was cool. More like Asian and Arab supremacy in some ways. Yeah. I mean, what really Biden is doing is people that are going to be called European are going to go by white. And they're going to vote Democrat. That's why Biden letting all these people in here. That's what they're counting on. And then start giving them all the rights and stuff. I mean, look, they gave the Asians all this money. Why? Like you do, it's a couple attacks across the country on the Asians, and all of a sudden they got to create money for their groups. Couple attacks. And they were probably staged attacks, because that's the way they do things. But a lot of Asian money put Biden in. And so a lot of LBGT stuff put Biden in too. They just gave him a bunch of money, or he's trying to give them money. So, but I don't know that China's history of fighting, I don't know that it's something that we would ever have to fear. They got enough imbecile psychopaths that would go after them. But as I said before, they didn't feel that China would take the L, because they thought that in 30 years they would be able to retool, build their army back up before America could, was one way of looking at things. So whatever damage we took, we couldn't recover as fast as they say Asia could recover. And remember, China's success comes from America, going back to Tricky Dick, where we didn't have relationships with China. Tricky Dick went over there and opened relationships. All our junk came from when I was a boy, my brother was a boy, when Vanetta was younger, all the stuff came from Japan. When you went to the Five and Dime, all the stuff said Japan on it. So Japan made junk in the 60s and 70s and 80s. If America didn't make junk, and then they let them do this. So they built, just like they built up Japan. Look at what was done in World War II, the way they built back Japan back up. They did the same thing to China. And one thing the Jewish faith people love, they love communism because they invented communism. Look at Marx. What was this, Engels? These Jewish dudes, Jewish faith dudes. All them communists, Lenin, Stalin, Trotsky, all Jewish faith dudes. Bolsheviks was Jewish faith people. It was the Christians against the Jewish faith people, the Bolsheviks against the Catholics, because the Tsar was a Catholic. My bad. I think I mixed their names. What's the dude's name from the Simple Truth TV? Oh, that dude. Yeah, I don't know his name, but I know who you're talking about. Okay, the Simple Truth. No, I didn't hear him going off on Zach. I have to go back and check his videos out. I didn't hear him going off on Zach. But he's like using Zach's technique, basically. He's one of Zach's proteges. But yeah. And I ain't got, like, I end up, I was going to call in, but then the last minute I was like, why am I giving his channel content, you know? Because he ain't never hollered at me because he shared my video and it did 100 views, 100,000 views. You know, he never hollered at me. He was like, man, you know, I thanked him for sharing it, but he never hollered at me. And I think his channel is monetized. So he had to make a little change off 100,000 views, about $1,000. No, yeah, you probably get about $1,000. He ain't never thrown no change my way for sharing my video because it did well on his channel. But I ain't mad. I ain't mad. Great grandmother is Mississippi Choctaw. I knew her well. My mother says she has some Indians marry blacks. Well, they was already the blacks. They was just marrying their own people. In most cases, they was marrying other Indians. It was just the way they reclassified. Because I at first thought that my Mississippi family, my father's family from Mississippi, but studying deeper, they came from Virginia. Now, what and they must have taken the Macon name in Virginia because that's where what is his name? It's a Macon that's fought in the Revolutionary War. He didn't sign the whatever the fuck that shit, Declaration of Independence, but he fought. His name something Macon. So I believe I'm sorry to say believe, but I think that my fifth great grandfather, Josh Macon, as that cat went to Mississippi to buy cheap land. And that's why Macon, Mississippi is named after him and not really my family. But that Macon was a large land owner. And I bet Josh Macon was encouraged to go there in that cheap land. Because the story was told that two brothers wanted to marry two mixed children. And we know that's not true because we have pictures of Rachel Brewer and ain't nothing mixed about her. And she's Blackfeet, I think. It's Blackfeet, not Blackfoot. But again, you know, like Blackfoot operated in Montana, but Blackfeet all in the woodland area, coming out Georgia, Tennessee, Kentucky. So there's Blackfeet. There's two different, like Blackfeet. There's a bunch of different kind of names, but that's what it appears like. The Arabs are buying up Michigan wholesale. They are starting to become racist in Dearborn, Michigan, Ann Arbor. Yeah, my brother lives there. You know, the Greenfield Museum, Ford Museum is in Dearborn. And they've given them Dearborn. And I've said this before, out of the hundreds of gas stations in Detroit, you know, a colored person only owns one. Out of the hundreds, it's mostly them Arabs. And they gave them that. They gave them the same thing they did with bringing these Somalians in here and gave them a voting block. They did the same thing to the Arabs in Detroit. That's why they have a representative now in the Congress. because they gave them a voting block. They gave them a city. They gave them the city. Like my boy Teddy Garrett. My brother would know Teddy Garrett. Teddy was from Dearborn. So it was black folks in Dearborn at one point. Yeah, they ain't there now. Yeah, Mark is one of my cousins. Mark is one of my cousins. Mark comes from I think the Charlie Macon line, because he has an uncle named Charlie Macon that's crazy. Mark's uncle Charlie is crazy. They from Saginaw. Mark went to I don't think Mark went to I don't think he went to Bona Vista though. Mark might have went to Saginaw High, but yeah, Mark's one of my cousins. And they be trying to shame him and shit. It was like Mark would get behind on child support payments. Every paper in Michigan have Mark Macon behind in child support payments. Yeah. But yeah, Mark is a cousin of mine. I see he's from Saginaw. Yeah, he's from Saginaw. But I can't remember if he went to Saginaw High or Bona Vista. I don't remember. But yeah, Mark, they had it. They had Duke, and Mark fucked that game up. Mark fucked that game up and shot him out of the game when Perry was killing Leitner. Killing him. Leitner could not deal with Perry, and Chaney wasn't smart enough to tell Mark to slow down and just feed it to Perry, because Perry was killing Leitner. They couldn't do nothing with him. Mark shot him out the game. Now, Mark came back when they played Carolina, damn near beat Carolina. That's what put him in the league. Mark's good guy, good defender. He went to he played for Denver. I think he got drafted. He didn't get drafted in the lottery, but Mark was first or second round pick, I think. But he played with Denver. I know he was in Detroit for a minute, but he ain't staying in the league long. And don't know where he played in Europe or not. Mark was on Chaney's staff though at Temple before when Chaney retired. I don't know if once Chaney retired did Mark stay. But Mark was coaching college basketball for a minute. Yep. But like a lot of our family, like Mark's grandmother lived in Chicago. But I think he comes from the Charlie Macon line, which would have been Charlie Macon would have been my great grandfather's brother. Yeah, my grandfather's uncle. Yeah, Charlie Macon would have been my grandfather. Yeah, because it would have been Robert Macon's, yeah. So my great grandfather's brother was one of the Charlie Macons, and that's where the line Mark comes from. Oh, he went to Bona Vista first. Oh, so he was a lottery pick. Okay. He was smooth on the court. Oh, Mark was intense. Oh, he went to Bona Vista. Okay, I couldn't remember if he went to Bona Vista or not. Oh, he did get drafted in the lottery. Okay, I couldn't remember. That's a while ago. That's almost 30 years ago, I think. Yeah, I couldn't remember if he had went to Bona Vista or Saginaw High. I couldn't really remember because I watched him play in high school. Mark was considering going to Xavier. Everybody thought he was going to sign with Xavier in Cincinnati, and he ended up signing with Temple with Chaney, which went to a good situation. We sent some books for him to sign, and he never sent them back because he was on the cover of Sports Illustrated as a freshman. And so we had gathered a bunch of them and sent them to him, and we never got them back. Because I did that for my little brothers. They was trying to do a report, and he never sent them back or anything. They came back. So, that ain't no judgment. They tried. That's all. Motherfuckers get busy. We understand. Don't be mad at them. But it's funny. Mark was at a camp I worked at, and you talking about an intense dude. Like the coaches would be talking, and Mark would be like, it's just funny watching him, but very methodical. Just his approach to the game. It was very methodical. But he ended up, I think the last team he was with the Pistons, and I thought that was going to work out because Mark was a great defender, and he might have got cut before the season started. He might have got traded or he signed as a free agent. I don't remember. But I thought it was a perfect fit for him because Mark actually played decent defense. Not a great three-point shooter, mid-range, kind of a mid-range game dish. But yeah. We was all proud when he was hooping. There was another dude went to and PJ, you might remember this dude. There was a Charles Macon that played at Ohio State. You remember him? Charles Macon played at Ohio State. He had Charlie Macon's name, the older Charlie Macon, but yeah. And he kept getting in little bullshit trouble and stuff. Like they claim he did a They suspended him a couple games. They said he drove off on gas. You know, he did a gas drive away, just little petty shit. And I don't know whatever happened to him, but I don't know if you remember him. And I mean, when Charles played at Ohio State, again, we talking about, let me see, Mark was in the early 90s. Probably in the late to mid 90s, Charles played at Ohio State. He was out of Ohio, though. So you might have heard of him. He was out of Ohio, though. I think that Charles Macon was out of Ohio, too. He was 6'7", 6'8", had nice size. I think he was he might even been a McDonald All-American. I'm pretty sure he was. I think he was a McDonald All-American. I think Mark was, too, because Mark was Michigan Player of the Year as well. Like if anybody caught the Michigan-Iowa game, Kenyon Murray was Player of the Year. Now his two boys play at Iowa. And Keegan Murray is up for the Wooden Award. He can hoop. He was killing them. He started getting cramps, but he was putting it on their ass. It was just he ain't had no help. And I think they ended up losing by 8. I turned it before they lost, before the game was over. But when I, Big Ten Network or ESPN, that was their highlight game today. But and they had a better record than Michigan. Neither one of them are ranked, but they were saying that Iowa's in. They're like probably going to be a 7 seed, something like that. But they're going to make the tournament, where they were saying Michigan would probably be one of the first 4 out. Michigan would have to win their tournament to make the tournament. They'd have to win the Big Ten tournament to make the tournament. Anything other than that, they probably not going to make it. I mean, he didn't recruit guards up in Michigan. He got 2 big dudes, but he did not recruit guards. He didn't get any good, solid guard transfers. Them 2 dudes that's there are trash. They are trash, and that's what has hurt his team all year, is lack of a true ball handler. Because they try to make this 2 guard, number 55, I can't think of his name, but he's a 2 guard. He's not really a point guard that can get things moving. He's got more of a 2 guard game, shooter. And so that's the big thing he's going to have to get, is he's going to have to get some guards. And that's where he blew his recruiting. He counted so much on them young boys, that he neglected to replace the ball handlers that he had last year. He didn't replace them. He did not replace them at all. So, well, my butt's getting sore sitting here. So I am going to do the divination tonight. So we'll be north. So we have to be on day 6. Here we go. And I should have had this shit prepared. I was lucky to bring the cards over here. And I am going to start doing pendulum readings and card readings. This book is such a quick reference. Such a quick reference. It's kind of cool. Oh. That was the strangest noise. That was the strangest noise. Full moon. Yeah. The full moon was last night. Yep. The full moon was last night. But yeah, it's still out there pretty. What is that noise? That is a strange noise. Oh. Here we go. Yeah, okay. Yeah. Just give you guys a little bit of something to think about tomorrow as you put your day together. Because, every day there's a color for the day. There's a color for the day. There's stones for the day. There's flowers for the day. And if you can use a little bit of that, it might make your day a little easier. I don't really think it's superstition. I just think it's, all of us a little extra wind behind our sails is not a bad thing. Here we go. Interesting. And so it is Kimi. Common Mayan usage, again, is death. surrender, release. Death, transformation is the key word. Forgiveness, humility, revelation. Symbol, six-sided crystal and roots, evergreen tree moss. The number is 6, organic balance. Color is forest green. Herb is willow. Flower is gardenia. Sin is gardenia. Stones, malachite, jade, emerald, dapsite, zosite, green agate. Jade. Yes, direction. It's an earth element, and the direction is out of the north. The shadow wisdom, feeling the need to be in control, fear of death, depression, struggle, resistance. Your transformation, surrender to the path of perfection. Listen to the part of you that is calling for death and transformation. Receive its wisdom, serenity, harmonic wisdom, serenity. The mantra, hold hands together under right cheek as if sleeping, then cross arms on chest while bowing. Finally, raise head with crossed arms in front of the eyes. Meditation, I am the fuel, mulch, and folder for the destruction of all obstacles to the reconstruction in you. Affirmation, I release, I let go, I surrender, I forgive. Now, in the Mayan way of thinking, again, death comes twice. There's 2 death cards. And so they had no fear of death. They knew that it was just another natural way of continuation of existence. But here, these people love this material plane so much that they want you to fear death. And you see, they fear death too, because they do everything in their power to stay here. That's why a lot of the missing peoples and all this stuff, to keep them here with riches, because they love this more than anything. They love their riches and destroying resources, getting rich off resources more than anything. And so they know what's waiting for them. And that is why they want theirs now. And ain't nobody saying that there's a heaven in the sky, but death is nothing to fear. It's almost a freedom. So it's definitely nothing to fear. That's why I study death. Like I was talking about the way, there's ways to die, and people just don't study the ways to die. I have 2 jade bracelets. I got 2. Oh, sweet. Yeah, jade is a nice energy to work with. Can kind of gets you in touch with a little bit of the Omen, a little bit of the Mayan, because they worked exclusively in jade. Now this is I knew serpentine. This is serpentine. Thank you, Motivite. This is serpentine. The transformation into the panther. This is serpentine. My other figure is jade. It's a big chunk, and then my mask I used to wear is a big piece of jade too. But again, see, when you go into Sapero, you see the same thing out of the molded head, which takes you out of the, like even these. That's what people don't realize about these. These are all where their heads are molded in the back, the flat heads. I mean, you can't tell because this is just a frontal view, but they did the same thing, the same practice. So that's why they try to tell you that them and the Mayan are different. They're not different. They're not different. Aztecs was different folks. As you see, the Aztecs didn't do that. Aztecs came from somewhere from America and went down into those areas, but they didn't practice that. You don't see an Aztec with, out of the reptilian brain, because it gives you a higher vibration. It gets you more in tune. So that's why they did that. And that's why the Europeans don't want to do that. They don't stay in that reptilian brain. So just shows you. I mean, think about it. They put your brain in a different spot. They give you a language that's spiritually confining. So are these spiritual people? They do all these practices that are not spiritual under the guise of certain religions. So these have to be considerations. But that's also, if you feel so inclined to throw a little green in your outfit, might help you a little bit. No, I'll save that. I was going to say something, but I'll save that for another time. And that's what I've been practicing. I've been trying to incorporate that some days. Other days where my outfit is like, this looks good. Maybe a little something or what are the stones. But, and, I mostly wear green stones, as you see. And then at other times when I wear the bigger piece of Motivite, I have attraction to green stones. And I have 5 or 6, 7 pieces of Motivite, and they're all almost tripled in value, which is interesting because what happened over in the Czech Republic, where they found Motivite, they've closed that area down. They're not letting people mine there anymore. So the price of Motivite is really going to go up. Oh, but let me tell you the worst thing that happened today. Forgot to mention this. So I go into Dollar Tree. What did I get? Trash bags. I had to get some more batteries. I keep them cheap batteries they sell. And I'm thinking, normally it's $1.06. So get my stuff, and she says $2.69. Now I heard somebody complain on Facebook that they changed their prices. So Dollar Tree is $1.25 tree. I was like, so everything's $1.25, isn't it? She's like, yeah. So inflation is everywhere. Like right now, we paying $3.50 for gas. Gas is up to $3.50. So tomorrow, I'm probably gonna go down to Sam's Club. I need to sign up and start getting gas down there because it's probably closer to $3 down there. And I got a gift card too, so I'm gonna go down there and fill up. But yeah, gas is $3.50 here. I can imagine what it is in California. It's probably I couldn't imagine what it is out there. Yeah, gas is a killer. Gas is a killer. It's like back in 2008. Like there was 2 weeks, 2008, 2009, when gas was $3.70. Like when I bought my Land Rover, gas was $3.35. When I bought my Land Rover, gas was $3.35. Within a matter of 6 months, gas was damn near $4. And in a 2-week period, I spent $800 on gas. I spent $400 in 2 weeks, every week. One period, I spent $400 just in gas. Because where we lived in Eden Prairie. That's where Greg Jennings lives. We didn't live too far away from Adrian Peterson. And I didn't like the children. When my children played baseball, I did not like just the interactions of those children in Eden Prairie. So I kept my children going to school in Hopkins, which wasn't far, but when gas came to $4, it was like we had to take both of them to the little. They ain't little, but the one that lives here when they were little had to take them to school. Then I had to go to work, so it's like we had to take them to school, then take me to work, which was another part. I was working out at, I don't know if I was working in Plymouth or Chaska, I can't remember. And then my son would drive himself to school. And we did this every day. And it financially kicked my ass. It financially kicked my ass. Yeah. And that ain't saying I'm living in Eden Prairie where I was probably paying. I had a nice house. It was about 2,800 square feet, 4 bedrooms. I think we had 3 baths, but we was paying. You can believe that. We was paying out there. Shit was high. So yeah, 2 weeks, $800 just in gas. That's how tough it got. So, but when I bought the truck, gas was at $3.35. So gas is becoming a bill. Gas for so long wasn't even considered. I know a lot of y'all can deal with somebody like, man, I'll give you $2-3 to take me over town. That was a thing for a long time. Yeah. Even $5. It changed to $5. I'll give you $5 if you take me. Yeah. It's like now he's like, you better pull out 20 if you want to ride somewhere. So everything, inflation is kicking motherfuckers' ass. So even though people making 17, 18, 19, Inflation is putting a foot in their ass. It's making it, and this is what they do is, okay, we're going to raise your rate up of pay, or we're going to raise the price of goods. So we're not gaining. So your $17 an hour don't mean shit because inflation is eating at it. I mean, not only is gas for your car, but to heat your house. My ex just told me she was looking at my bill. My bill higher than her bill. She probably has maybe 2,000 square feet, maybe less, maybe about 1,800 square feet. I live in this 2-bedroom apartment. How is my bill possibly higher than hers? She got more area to heat, but it's just showing you. Just showing you. So this is kind of what we all facing, and we all gonna feel this pinch. So, all right. Well, I guess I'll finish with more. It all starts with a gentle sadness. They came from their original homeland. They knew that they had exact numbers of years and days before they would disappear off the earth as a culture and a lifestyle. But the civilization would build to a gentle love. They lived in the Creator's day and knew how to separate cycles in the great serpent. And to all my relations out there, I am another yourself. This has been the Chocolate Mountain Show. This is your host, Big Pontiac. Till we meet again, say less.